So, friends, so finally, we have seen that the education minister has resigned, and I think it was the right thing to do. And for me, I was looking at the resignation coming after the parliament session because the government felt that we should hold on for now the pressure that is coming from the opposition and then ask him to resign because he was eventually going to resign. It was not about whether he will resign. It was more about when he will resign. So I thought it will happen before after the parliament session, but it has happened now. So of course the questions are coming that why now, why it wasn't earlier, or why it has not come later. But in the end, if we look at it overall, I think it was the right thing to do. I mentioned it in my last video as well that there are education ministers who have gone for lesser reasons, whether it is Smriti Irani, whether it is Prakash Javadekar, or even Nishank ji, who was asked to resign or basically asked to leave, and they put it up as if they have been given some other work or so. But in this education minister's case, I think Dharmendra Pradhan, not just the NEET issue, but even if you see overall, he had made a lot of mistakes, whether it was the UGC regulations, the general category not liking that on the name of caste discriminations they are bringing these rules and forcing it on basically the general category. So whether it was that was put on hold then when it went to the courts, and then it was need the leaks that had happened, and which led to a lot of students suiciding. So that was a very big mistake done. And even the CBSE boards that had happened, again there was a lot of mistakes happening there. Students ended up failing, and wrong kind of checking happening on their papers and all. So there was a lot of mistakes that this minister had done, which was even way more than the ministers that were there before him. So I think the government has done the right thing by asking him to resign. And in the end, it's the victory of the students, because I'm seeing, again, I'll come to the political things and what kind of political victories will be claimed. But if we look at basically from the education side and the student side, it's a victory for the students. They had one demand and only one demand, that there has to be accountability, and that accountability was the getting the resignation of the education minister. And the students in the end have got what they wanted, and I hope now that they go back to their normal lives, because this is not something that any youngster should be going and being part of. They are not some political students. They are not like an SFI or a in JNUs we have all these kind of young student political groups. They are just normal students, just wanting to study, just wanting to make their future. So I hope now they can go back and get back to their normal lives, and work on the do their studies, and build a future. And yeah, all the best to them. So I'm in that way very happy that the students' voice was heard. So in that context, I think when it comes to the government, I mentioned in the last video as well that the government, compared to the previous protest, which was CA and farm laws protest, this time around they managed it comparatively better. There are still things that they didn't do right. We can go into that. But whether it was Dipke coming to India, they didn't arrest him, they didn't give him any kind of credence. They just said, okay, we'll give you in fact security, and you can do and your protests and everything. They thought that they will not take permission, they'll get the government will take action against them, the police will come after them. But the government gave them the permission, and to do the protest. They said you don't need to apply, we give you the permission. Then whether it is Sonam Wangchuk taking him from the protest side legally, and I again repeat the word legally. They had a court order, and basis that they took Sonam Wangchuk to the hospital because he was in a very difficult medical situation. And then of course engaging with him, and having a dialogue and ensuring that they come to an agreement, and the government agreed on most of the points, which was quite reasonable. It didn't demand for too many unreasonable demands, whether it was not taking action against the peaceful protesting students, not the violent ones, the ones who were surrounding them and were, writing and doing all kind of violence. The peaceful protests that were done by students. So just he told, don't take action against them, which the government agreed. Whether it was compensation for them, that was agreed, and of course then it was a debate in the parliament for educational reforms, which the government immediately agreed and immediately took that up in the parliament as well, where they said that we are ready for a debate and we are going to do the judicial reforms. And as the prime minister also said that they will be coming with an anti paper leak bill as well in this parliament session. So overall the government has taken the right steps, and even after the Sonam Wangchuk thing, they came up and now have taken the resignation of the education minister. So overall they have done what they were supposed to do, and that's how the government should be. And it was good that the prime minister came, and the friends thing got very famous because of him coming, and you should see the timing, that when he's come, it's not his normal 8 p.m. coming for to give an announcement or addressing the nation. He came at 12 in the midnight, so that he knows that the youngsters are there. They are there on their Instagrams, and both these videos he has come and he's addressed them directly. And I'm glad he's done it directly rather than going by the media way, because the media, as always, whether it is print or whether it is electronic, they will twist your words and they will not try to present the right thing, because they'll present what they want to present. So it was good that he came, he addressed the students, and he gave them the assurance that the government is there and the government will take the required action. So if you see in that context, the government has done what they are supposed to do as a government, that is to listen, that is to engage, that is to take the required actions that are required, accountability, as we saw in this resignation. So yeah, that's how it should be, and that's how a democracy should function. It's not that it should be a one-way street where the government feels that we can do whatever we want and no one will question that. It does not work that way. So I'm glad that the students raised these issues, and I'm happy that the government also listened to them, because at one time it was feeling that the government might get adamant and say that no, we're going to stick at our guns and we're not going to do anything about it. But eventually they did take the required steps. And as I mentioned in my last video, there has to be a debate on education if we are going to have such big talks, and we are going to have people coming and experts coming and talking all kinds of things on social media and media. If there is no debate in the parliament, and if the opposition now, even after getting the resignation, is going to block the parliament, that clearly will expose them that they are not even serious about the issue. They are just interested in their politics, which I also feel is the case, because whether it is the CJP, which is nothing but the AAP, it is just the AAP's offshoot. They're all the AAP people who, as expected, I saw their reaction now they gave after the resignation. They said, oh no, there is now these three demands, which is nothing but political. They are changing the goalpost, and they are just interested that how we can politically counter the BJP now. And their end game is the prime minister, and trying to remove him at any cost, try to get his resignation, or through anarchy, let us try to remove him. But when it came to the students, it was quite clear for them. Their end game was to get the resignation of the education minister, which they have got, and I'm glad that they have got what they came for, and now they can move ahead. But as far as these political outfits are concerned, whether it's the CJP / AAP, whether it is the Congress, they will continue doing their politics, and they've already started doing it. They have already said that, oh, this does not mean anything, and now they're coming up with the new demands of remove the police in charge who had taken these protests, lathi charge and all that. So they will keep on changing the goalposts. So they that is not a surprise. They will keep on doing the politics, but above this politics has to be the nation. And when you say about our nation, the first thing that we should or someone who we should look after is our youngsters, and that is what has happened. Education, the issue has been given priority, the actions have been taken, the accountability has been given, and as I said, there will be a bill that will come up to ensure that such things don't happen, and the children and the parents don't go through such things that we saw in the case of NEET, or in the case of even in case of CBSE. So yeah, so there are a lot of improvements to be done, a lot of solutions to be found in the education system, and the first step to it is for the government to come up with reforms and improve the education system. Because even if you see the NEP, another reason why I felt the education minister is not up to his doing his job properly is that the NEP has come in 2020, and if you see the national education policy, it has been framed really well. It is very balanced. It is not biased in any way. There's no imposition of Hindi as was expected, that the government will impose Hindi, because the RSS was demanding that, but the government didn't do that. They said Hindi, whether it's a regional language, whether it's English, everything is part of it. It's the choice of the students what they want to pursue. And I've seen it's a very balanced NEP, but in the end the policy is the policy. In the end, that policy has to be executed, and still that execution has not completed even after 6 years. Okay, there was COVID, okay, there was this and that, the Operation Sindoor and what is happening with Pakistan, but in the end, if you're coming up with a policy, the execution has to happen, which has been very slow. So again, the education minister had a lot of mistakes done. That's the point, and that's why I overall, when I feel that was the right decision to take. And now coming to the politics, well, that we are going to see more of it. The CJP is, as we have seen, is not a political, when what they claim is a non-political organization. They are a political organization. You just ask them one question, whether they will ask the Punjab education minister to resign for the paper leaks that have happened, or the students, the action that was taken against the students. They will not question them at all, because they are politically linked. For people like us who might have, or who have, there's not might, who have their preferences, everyone knows who my preference is, who's the leader I support. But in the end, when it comes to issues, and if it comes to important issues like our students, our youngsters, or women, or anyone of our citizens, in the end we try to see that it does not matter who we support politically. In the end, the thing that should happen is the right decisions has to be taken. I don't care whether you are BJP, whether you are Congress, whether you are AAP party. If there is something wrong done, whether it was central government and their education ministry, or the state governments, whether it's the AAP in Punjab, whether it's the Congress in Telangana, Karnataka, and now Kerala, where again there are leaks that have happened. There also students have seen force used against them. Or it is even Maharashtra, where there is a leak and that has happened in Maharashtra as well. So it does not matter which state it belongs to. It can be any party, but if there is anything wrong done, so the resignation has to be asked from those ministers. And but as I mentioned in my last video, and I am mentioning here as well, those people who say that they will question to power will not question these states which are non-Modi states, if I can say, because for them it's not the students, it's not education, it's their politics. They are just interested to see how we can oust Modi or the BJP, and how we can use these people who are there. They try to use Sonam Wangchuk. Sonam Wangchuk was too smart for them, and he ensured that he gets out of this, and he does not become another Anna Hazare for Kejriwal and Dipke and company. But the students were still there. And one of the reasons I think also that the government has catered, ensured that this resignation is done, that the students were in a very, very, very dangerous situation, because the kind of people who were surrounding the students were elements that we have seen in the CA protests. They are seen in the farm protests as well. And even if we go a little more back, even during Kashmir, that is how their modus operandi has worked, is to keep some innocent people right in the front, so that if there is any action taken by the army or by the police, which we saw is taken, they are the one who end up getting beaten up, or even at times even losing their lives. And that's what the government knew, that they are in a very dangerous situation, because they are surrounded by these same elements, famously coined by Arnab as the Tukde Tukde gang, who will do everything to unstabilize the country, who will try to use violence. They will spread fear, they'll lies, they'll keep on lying as if it's no one's business, and try and see that there's instability. And due to that, the violence that is taken by them, the police or the army takes action against the one who is in front of them. And in the end, the police cannot differentiate whether this guy is the writer or whether he is a student. he won't check the ID and then say take action. When such kind of violence happens, the police or has to take the action, and that is what they were hoping, that there something happens to the students, something happens to Sonam Wangchuk. That's what the plan was. But now that these decisions have been taken, where Sonam Wangchuk was engaged with and he broke his hunger fast, the resignation has been taken. So the students will be happy now that okay, whatever we were asked for, the government has done, the government has engaged, and the government has listened to us. And yeah, so now it's for now the leftists to think that what they're going to do, because they are going to keep on doing this. They're not going to stop. They keep on going to lie to the people. They keep on going to spread fear, spread violence. So be ready for that. There are more protests going to come, such protests going to come, where they're going to try and catch some innocent people, put them in the front, and then run their agenda from the back. So the government has to be aware of that. So it's not just because they are going to do what they're going to do, but the government, as I have been saying it since CAA, that they are going to do what they are going to do, but the government has to be on their toes as well. They have to be ready for these kind of things that are going to be coming up towards them. And this is not the end of it. The politics is not going to stop. These guys know that when it comes to democracy, when it comes to elections, they don't have an answer to Modi as of now, whether it is the central government, whether it's the state elections. But the only way they feel that this is the way that we can try and get the better of him, and maybe try to get him resigned, or try to use any kind of anarchy to come to power. So they are going to do that. So the government has to be ready, and the government has to get all their agencies in place. And I think that's what the government has to eventually also think, that how we can counter these people before they create a situation which makes it dangerous for our own people, whether it was the farm laws where the farmers were in danger, whether it was the students that were in danger, that the government knew that we have to ensure that their safety is taken care of. And even we saw in the CA that it was first the youth, and then it was our Muslim community, where they were telling them you're going to lose their citizenship. And my friends also asked me, Muslim friends, whether we are going to lose, and I told them that this is nothing but politics. You don't need to worry about anything, but they are just people who are trying to use you and trying to run their political agenda, and they will be in the back and you will be at the forefront, and eventually have to face the brunt. So these things are there. And as we saw that eventually whether it was CA, farm laws, it was just made up issues. The only difference with this protest was that there was an issue for the students, and they were raising it up, and there were these people who are behind them, who are trying to use their issue to run their agenda, that was to try and topple the Modi government. But that eventually won't happen, because in the end this is not Nepal or Bangladesh, and this is India. And India is a country where it's gone through a lot of things. So this is nothing. India has gone through a lot of things over the years, whether it is the invasion of the Mughals, whether it is the British, or whether it is anything that has come to any challenges. We saw COVID came, people thought it was a doomsday, India is going to get finished, people are going to, so many crores of people are going to die. That's what the president prediction was. But India came out of it as well. And it is not just because of the government and the leadership that we have, but it is because of the people of India. Because people, in the end, whether it is, regardless of what political thinking we have, we know that when it comes to the nation, we should ensure that we are into this together, and come out of the situations. So India will come out of situations regardless. And how regardless of how much the anti-national elements will try to break this nation, and will try their best, and their foreign masters who are sitting out will try their best to topple the government undemocratically, like they have done in other countries. We have seen so many countries where the government has been toppled, not just our neighbors, but even in, you see, the Middle East, or all those countries. So that is of course not going to happen, because India is, in the end, we as Indians are together. Politics will keep on going. Someone will support the right, someone will support the left. Everyone is entitled to that, their own political thinking. But in the end, the country is above everything. And I'm glad the decision that have been taken is in interest of the country, and that's how the government should function. In this case, it was the students, the education, it is for them. And it was ensuring that the elements that are trying to create fear and violence should not be given the platform to do what they are supposed to do. So yeah, So let's see how things work now. As far as the politics is concerned, I think the opposition, now there will be a fight between the AAP and Congress, because the Congress has gone out and said it is because of us that the resignation has happened. We are the ones who went and protested in front of the Prime Minister's residence, and we are the ones who created the pressure inside the parliament. That's why the resignations happened. Our party will of course say that it's because of us, because we are the ones who were behind this, because they are, that's what their their motive was, that to get the resignation and then get the credit. But yeah, some things have worked for them, some things have not. Of course, the resignation, they would feel that okay, it's because of us, we have done it, so our party will try to take the credit of that. But of course, the Sonam Wangchuk thing that had happened was something that caught them by surprise. Ideally, they would have liked that Kejriwal would come and break the fast, and they would have had the resignation, and then the fast would have been broken. But that did not happen, and there are a lot of things that they would have liked to happen, but it's not happened. And as far as government is concerned, politically, if you see, they are sitting quite comfortably. They have got the numbers. The numbers are increasing because of the recent developments, whether it is what happened in Bengal, and TMC, whether it's the NCP, whether it's Shiv Sena, Uddhav Sena and Shinde Sena. People are moving towards the NDA, whether it's AAP party with Raghav Chadda and their group moving towards the BJP. So the government looks quite comfortable, whether it's Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. It has now to be seen that how the opposition are going to position themselves, whether it is the AAP party, whether it's the Congress, or whether it's the SP as well, because SP would feel that then the UP government will be quite a key election to decide how things will move towards the central elections in 2029. So yeah, there is a lot of things to see that will happen politically. But yeah, I think in the end, the best thing has happened. The resignation of the education minister has been taken. Accountability has been taken. So it's good. That's how democracy should function, but not violently. So whatever violence has happened, I hope that is taken care of. Those action is taken care of. Government catches those people who thought that they can get away with attacking the police and attacking the public property, because it's, in the end, it's the taxpayers money through whom all these buildings and all these public property is built. So in that context, the ones who have done violence, I hope the action is taken. As far as peaceful protest is concerned, if anyone wants to do it on any issue, that's their right, and I hope that's the way it is. And yeah, so let's see how this political game plays out. There's a parliament session that is going on. The FCRA bill is very important, so I think the government had that in mind, that now that we have taken these steps, the FCRA bill will be passed in the parliament, which would basically counter this movement that we are seeing, whether it's come from the CJP slash up or the NGOs that are also were on the streets, who are hoping that this FCRA bill does not go through, because it will stop these kind of violent protests that they are trying to do by trying to use innocent people and their issues. So let's see. It will be very interesting how the government plays this out, and how the opposition positions itself in front of the government, and who will be the opposition in the end. Because we want an opposition. There's a strong government, there's no doubt in that. Narendra Modi is a strong leader, and if anyone thinks that you're going to get the better of him easily, we saw it in the past few days why he is such a top politician. The way he came at 12 o'clock, he's announced, spoke to the young generation through Instagram, or whether it is how they made spoke to Sonam Wangchuk and got the fast broken. So yeah, he's not going anywhere. Amit Shah is not going anywhere. So the government is in a position. They feel they are in a strong position, and I believe that is the case as well. But now we'll have to see how the opposition is placed, because the opposition for me in a democracy is equally important. So whether it's going to be the Congress who will take away the credit and of the resignation, or is it going to be the AAP who will say that we are the ones. So now we'll have to see who takes that position in the opposition and stands in front of the government, and let's hopefully they raise the right issues. Unfortunately, they don't. They are more interested in their politics. But that's the way it is. I hope that better sense prevails and we have a good opposition, like we have a strong government, and hopefully, in the end, the best should happen for India. That's all that I think. It does not matter which leader I support or which leader I oppose. That is not important, and it's for anyone. We can support and oppose whoever we want, but India should win. That is what any Indian should think, and I hope that happens in the end. So yeah, hope you liked my video, and I'm going to come tomorrow and speak on the Indian football and what the situation has been in the Indian football and why we don't qualify for the World Cup, and other issues that are concerning. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. So enjoy your weekend. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.